Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the most creative Terran player out there. In the blue, the Admiral. It's Gumiho. But he's up against the best player from the United States of America, the Battle Mage, Astraea. A best of 5 Terran versus Protoss showdown. And whether you'd like to see Gumiho lay down another creative takedown, or root for the player representing the two most underrepresented demographics. Of course, I'm talking about North America and Protoss. Like a unicorn combined. But first, before we get started, it'd be awesome if we could smash that like button. And maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,402 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Twilight Council on the way. Gumiho playing it safe, hiding everything in his main. Even putting the factory so far back, the Adept shouldn't be able to see it. So a bit of a sneaky, beaky move to start. And I expect a lot of those in these series. These two players well known for doing strategies maybe 2 or 3 steps too complicated for what they're actually able to execute. But because they're so far ahead of their opponent and themselves, sometimes it works out anyways. And Astraea, desperate to prove me right, builds a Shrine to Dark to start things off. Because of course he does. It's going to be a DT rush. The Adept got in and scouted everything, thus invalidating most of whatever Gumiho was trying to hide. But he does kill the Adept, so that's a win, I guess. So it's just a DT rush. It's a DT Warp Prism rush. Like, straight up, I need some ladder points. The season ends in 7 minutes, and I need to get to the next rank. Diamond 3 sort of build here. Meanwhile, Gumiho sends every Marine he has into a medevac and sends them across the map, which sounds very dramatic, though it totals 5 Marines. Adept is headed out. Not going to spot this. Nothing there for vision, because, of course, he did lose that first Adept, so that could end up costing him. There's already a Raven on the way. Gumiho, a big fan of those Raven plays, so not going to be lacking detection. The Marines unload on the edge of the base, go right by the Dark Shrine, gun down a probe. And the opening will start for Gumiho as he guns down 4, 5, 6 probes, picks up, boosts away, gets out, 2 Dark Templar being warped in. But the Raven is already fully operational. He accidentally... Wait, did he warp it in? Okay, he got both. Meanwhile, 9 probes just kind of die. Because of course they do. As Astraea had no real response, and that's part of the reason you usually end up with Blank Stalkers, but gets into the main. Dark Templar, Engineering Bay isn't there, but the Raven very much is. He might be able to get both of them out if he's very careful about it. A bit lackadaisical on the second DT. Was working on the refinery, but ends up killing 2 SCVs, and he gets out with the Prism and both Dark Templar. I said moments before it looked like he's not going to die, right? Okay, the Raven doesn't chase it down. Scan used. A lot of SCVs on a mandated work break. Solidarity after that Dark Templar attack. Actually, a lot of mining time lost here. Despite the damage done. And now an Archon, because of course it is. We're just going to slap an Archon down in there. Blink is now on the way. The Dark Templar, a qualified success. As both players see each other and go their separate ways. As it's kind of awkward in this scenario, as both of them very capable of killing the other, but not without necessarily losing too much of their own. And Astraea not shying away, unlike almost every other Protoss. Instead of dancing with disruptors, he enjoys the Templar, the other flavor of Templar on the way, the High Templar Archives, to complement the Dark Templar already on the field. So a very different style of Protoss coming out than pretty much we've seen from everyone else. North America, a different style in general. Better, worse, more interesting, at the very least. But enough about my commentary. The Raven on the high ground. Archon. Now, an interference matrix at the right time, either on the Prism or on the Archon, could prevent it from lifting back in, or either of them from getting away. Storm has begun. Blank is almost done. A very key point. Wait. The scan spots nothing. Well, the scan saw the High Templar, so that kind of gives that whole thing away. Astrea's just now taking a third. A remarkably late one, considering the matchup, and even how the game has gone, but just now, 6.5 minutes or so. Gumiho doesn't have a third base either, but he's been sitting back, deflecting these Templar of various flavors. Archons as the follow-up. Where is the Warp Prism? Did he recall it back? No, he just flew back home. Another Adept just kind of hanging out. Ends up dying, but he does spot the third command center starting. So Estrella has a bead on when Gumiho's going to be able to progress his economy. And Gumiho has an idea of what Estrella wants to do. Storm is done. So a very, very quick Psionic Storm and a feedback on the Raven could completely invalidate it. I don't think it's enough damage to kill it. Estrella looks like he's just going to let the Nexus go. And he does. Decides to cut his losses instead of losing everything at once. Meanwhile, Charge Lock counter eviscerates a Marauder, forces the cancel out for the panicking SCV. Always so greedy for Terrans to build on the low ground, in my opinion. Those aren't even Charge Locks. They're just Zealots, okay? There's nothing wrong with just being a Zealot. Besides the fact you're bringing Psyblades to a gunfight, which does not increase your life expectancy. Well, Gumiho, siege tanks, shelling from the far side of the gap. And Estrella just now retaking his third Nexus. Gumiho with a third command center in the main. This has been... Oh, Estrella's setting up a beautiful surround right now. You gotta watch out with the... Ooh, Widowmine dodged out. Auto turret slapped down. Gets all the energy out of the Raven. But the storms from the Templar. A downpour of damage. And he wipes out the Bio army. A handful of survive... Yeah, go tell your friends what happened here. And the medevac is driven away. Estrella retakes the supply lead. I'm assuming he had it at some point. Estrella crushes that army. And very importantly, delayed that third command center back at home. So he's not in a terrible spot economically either. The American Protoss has drawn the score about even. And overall, looking pretty good, because he already has both flavors of Templar. I know why we're using flavors for Protoss, as how would they even interpret the idea of flavors without mouths? Smells. Yeah. Moving on, Gumiho. 2 ships passing in the night. Gumiho is always about a half step away from falling into a base trade, but here comes the army. Is there enough energy for Storm? Oh no, he was like 2 off! But that 2 energy will never come. And the medevacs are driven away, but not shut down. With 1 Storm there, it would have been so much easier to clean that up. But the Bio army so efficient in small groups, and also medium groups, and also large groups if you don't have Storm. Meanwhile, wait, what? Come back! Why did you drop me out just to leave me? So they try to kite their way back to the medevacs. The concussive shells helping out a lot. Estrella heading north with Immortal Archon. Now, the army a bit strung out. That's a lot of Bio. Gumiho. Been keeping it together back at home. Estrella trying to outflank this army, but there's just a lot of heft to it. Another set of Templar gonna get kited and taken out before the Storm's butt! From the north side, the Warp Prism drops out, softens up most of the Bio. Charge lots filtering through. Will eat the Widow Mines, drawing them into the Terran army as well. Another Storm. The Immortals holding the line! And the field runs red with the blood of the Marauders. And Estrella again. A bit of a disjointed fight, but it ends up going well enough for him. He ends up taking a 16 supply lead, and very importantly, he did that while taking a 4th base. So now Estrella has access to even more economy. He's got a 17 worker lead, which is means his army supply is a bit lackluster. But Gumiho's only at 5 barracks. He only has 1 factory, 1 starport. He can't really put together that many units right now. I mean, plenty of units, as we've seen, but... And those units very important. Oh, no, no, no! Oh, the Neighborhood Watch is not how you need to deal with the Widow Mine drop. But that will successfully delay mining at this... Get out of the way! Odd target fire there. Thought he might save the Widow Mines, but ends up just saving himself. Estrella knows that the map is dark and full of Terrans. So he has well-placed Zealots and, I believe, Observers. Yeah, just 1 or 2 Observers out there. Robotime is precious. That robotics facility is needed for everything. Obviously, a bit of an exaggeration, but only a bit. EMP's whipped out. Down goes the Templar. There's still a couple in the prism. Gumio's very well aware of that. Another EMP forces a merge, but at least he's able to merge. All right. The Ghost storm from the north side, and again, Gumiho getting outflanked by Estrella. Not suspecting the northern flank yet again. And Estrella takes out the Ghost. He loses mostly, yeah, just Zealots. Gumio actually ended up killing a Marine in there. So overall, Estrella, another solid fight. Now, it's a long way from winning the war, but he's getting upgrades. He's getting a second robotics facility. He's getting a robotics bay as well. And I think Colossi or even Disruptors added in at this stage of the game are definitely a valuable part of the composition. Make that splash damage even more dangerous. Immortals, Archons, and Jarzlots with some Templar in tow. And Gumiho just not respecting it. Even with the Ghost, Estrella's finding opportunities. And this is what I mean. I think both players are going to be throwing out these kind of odd attacks and weird timings. And barely keeping control of the situation. And whoever's able to control the chaos a little bit better will end up taking it. +2 attack finishing for both sides. Upgrades dead even 2-1. Medivacs looking for an opportunity. The armies split for Estrella. Doesn't want to be caught with everything in one place at one time or it could be EMP'd. Gumiho starts his fusion core. And with Gumiho, you know, a Caduceus reactor every fusion. Gumiho uses 100% of the fusion core. Now, most players, advanced ballistics, maybe Caduceus reactor, but battle cruisers are not off the table. Well, it has to be a very large table, but either way. The Ghosts out in front. Templar, just deleted. There's not enough energy for any more storms. Another Templar down, and those Marauders need something a little heavier to contest them. Widowmine takes out a Zealot. There's no drilling claws, so he should be able to clean them up relatively easily. Relatively. A small bio group to the south side, driving in towards the 4th base. Archons in place. Colossus as well as, again, Estrella splits his forces to try to deal with each of these prongs on the attack. There's the Caduceus reactor, the Medivac energy regen upgrade. Doubles the energy regen of Medivacs. Yeah. Seems pretty nice. And Gumiho, the only player I've seen reliably get that relatively... In fact, this is kind of late for him. Though he's had a bit of a economic hiccup throughout this game with multiple command centers canceled and constant fights. Oh yeah, remember their DTs? Apparently Estrella did. He's got DT Blink on the way. And he didn't even make another Dark Shrine, forgetting he started with a DT rush. So, working towards that late game. There's 9 gates and 5 more, going up to 14 gateways. A true late game army. Like Terrans have their extra orbitals in order to just sink all of their energy into things. Warp gates are the way Protoss Remax is out in the late game. Extended Thermal Lance is done. Again, I gotta appreciate not a single disruptor. We'll see if he gets desperate. But Colossi instead, pretty guaranteed damage while focused on microing the Templar. A Liberator siege up. And now is a very important moment for Estrella. Does he build the fleet beacon and acknowledge that he may have to deal with these Liberators? Or does he let the number keep piling up, growing and growing and growing until there's no anti-air capability that can deal with them anymore? So many Protoss say, well, I'll deal with them. How do I counter 12 ranged Liberators? Well, the answer is I just micro, bro. So hopefully Estrella is able to micro well enough. The EMPs come through, but only after the storms hit. Estrella, no merge. Unfortunate. And most of the army here. And if the Liberators are able to siege up, no Liberators, they're coming in from the center line, but here come the storms from the back. A Maelstrom on the ramp. and blasting through. That shield battery overcharge putting in work right now. And Estrella may be able to outflank the Liberators with the Archons, which is not easily done considering Liberators have about 15 times more range. Trying to siege up on the ramp. Observer's taken down, but he spots the location. Knocks out several. No, Gumiho. No. Oh, God. Base trade! Here we go! Gumiho has found his way. Well, it's not like it was an accident. He was waiting for his opportunity. And they say never base trade a Terran, mostly because the Terran can fly their buildings away. Whereas the Protoss, if their production gets gutted, well, so they neither play. This is one of the cleanest base trades. There's almost nothing. He blinks into the main, driving Gumiho out. The Colossi go up the Reaper ramp, or the Reaper cliff. Liberators sieging up and executing probes at multiple bases. Both players are supply blocked. Estrella at 170-something, though he's going to be losing a lot of these probes. Gets +3 armor denied. A fleet beacon on the way, but it seems a bit late on the draw. Meanwhile, there is still recall available. The main base of both players has been gutted. There's still storms. He managed to warp in like half a dozen Templar. Gets another Archon merge. He's just staggering the storms. The Ghosts don't have enough EMP. They don't have energy. And the storms one after another. The torrent of Protoss size storm continues. Oh, 5 seconds. 5 seconds on infantry armor. He completes it. If Gumiho somehow gets out of this situation, it'll be that +3 infantry armor. But, well, here we are. It seems like Estrella has kept a better army together. He still has... Ooh, very careful with those Colossi. He still has 3 Colossi, 18 Stalkers, 7 High Templar, against a Terran who only has 2 Ghosts and no Ghost Academy. So if he keeps those Templars spread out and he keeps knocking out bases like this, Estrella, he gave up about 30% of his infrastructure, maybe 40%, and his bases to kill over 2/3 of Gumiho's. So, while you should never base trade a Terran, I'm going to go ahead and slap an Estrella asterisk up there. An Estrella risk. It kind of works. It just sounds very clunky, like doing a base trade against Gumiho. An Estrella risk indeed. He's trying to get a storm or a feedback over the top. A feedback would be massive on those Ghosts. Now just storms the Liberators. And another army coming in, pre-splitting the Templar. Storm on what few SCVs remain. And Estrella has cornered Gumiho. Another storm, he pre-storms ahead of himself. Medevac's getting repaired. There's still enough Liberators to keep him at bay. But Estrella is building a mothership. I feel like that mothership is... While it could be very helpful, it's also like, ha! I can build a mothership. That's a GG mothership. Right there. Assuming Gumiho doesn't tap out before then, Estrella has to be a little careful. That is a planetary. Those are Liberators. But it's not much else. Gumiho's building 5 Liberators at a time. That Observer is giving Estrella perfect vision of everything he's fighting into. Now, I know, as an American, I gotta enjoy Major League Baseball. And hopefully Estrella does as well. But not so much that he throws this game harder than a starting pitcher. Because right now, Estrella has almost every advantage besides having Terran units. It's going to be near impossible for Gumiho to carve his way out of this one. But Liberators and choke points are a big stepping stone back into it. 2 Twilight Councils on the way for Estrella, just making sure. Just carving away at... Oh, no, no, no. Wait. There's energy for a recall, but that base is just gone. The Marauders do so much damage. Storms onto the high ground. That Observer giving him vision, as well as the Colossi. Blinking forward, Liberator's doing a lot of damage, but there's just nothing left. Wow, losing a lot of supply, Estrella, but he's able to rebuild. He can do it again. As long as he doesn't end up losing literally all of his bases, so. Gumiho not even repairing his planetary. There's some immortals underneath really helping out. Gumiho floating his buildings again. Estrella loses yet another Nexus. There is a tiny, tiny, infinitesimal chance that if Gumiho knocks out all the bases and Estrella doesn't have money for any more of them, that he could force a draw. But that is not even a dream at this point. Maybe a hallucination. But you are lost. And the GG ship! Any tactical recalls on top, and the block knocks it out. That's it. Game 1 goes to Estrella. A well-executed execution. And he cleans it up. Despite Gumiho's almost giddy base trade. God, he's sitting out there like, Mom, is it time to base trade yet? Can I base trade? Mom, we can base trade after they get 200 supply and they step more than 4 feet away from their Nexus. Okay? How about now, Mom? Fine. But, well, sometimes you gotta let the Terrans learn their lesson. And Estrella did a good job of mitigating the damage back at home. While, like, he was prepared to deal with Gumiho's counterattack. It wasn't just scrambling. He had the Templar. He had the Colossi. Well, he eventually had the Colossi into the main. Splitting up that... Oh, God. Gumiho, why are you like this? Is he going to lift that into the... I was trying to talk about the base trade, but I think he's going to lift that into the corner. Or he's going to do the thing where you, mine out the mineral patch. No. No, that's a lift, I think. Estrella. Pylon before Nexus. Interesting. What is this, Gumiho? Gumi bro. Thankfully for Estrella. Well, there's a Spylon there. Does the barracks have more vision range? You can see it. Let's go to the Estrella cam. Oh yeah, he knows. He's already building a zealot. He doesn't want to give this away too early. I think he can tell that it isn't a tech lab as well. So, but Gumiho isn't done. Is it? Don't lift that too. But he's placed it like he's gonna lift his base. He's just he's taking the base trade into the next map. That's what's happening. It couldn't work the first game. Okay, all right. Well, I really wanted him to lift that into the natural, but clearly it was spotted here. I think he was reasonably aware that the pylon was in range. So Estrella... No, don't do it. No, just... You don't do it. Dark Shrine. Oh... Now, it's a question of whether Gumiho will successfully drag Estrella into the mud and suffocate him, or if Estrella is 2 steps ahead, because he knows that Estrella, like, Gumiho knows that Estrella has not expanded. So, well, and he has to cancel the Dark Shrine, and starts Blink. So... I don't love it. I think the Dark Shrine, you could have just put it in his main as well. Like, I think this is a lot more asking whether or not you could rather than whether or not you should. And now the problem is Blink is going to be significantly delayed. The Stalkers are on the other side of the map, and there are 2 Cyclones in a medevac. He had no idea this was coming. He's completely blindsided, and what he doesn't know will certainly hurt him. Oh no, there's nothing. He doesn't have energy for a recall. The sentries on the run. Really? Now his probes are stuck on the other side of his own force field. Like, this is an unmitigated absolute tragedy. If he had just gone Blink. Did he cancel Blink to warp in another Stalker? Oh my god. Oh, it's such a disaster. The damage is already so done. And he's killing any Stalkers. No, this is very bad. You can't just go DTs every game. Did he just fake Chrono? Or does he want to Chrono, but he's desperate for money? He restarts Blink. He actually stopped Blink just to get a Stalker, so he wouldn't outright die. Oh, no. And it's a big gamble coming down here. Who proxies a tank? Gumiho does. Oh my, he's gonna juggle the tanks. Oh, Estrella. Well, this is quite the kerfuffle here. If he had Blink, even the second Blink timing, not the main Blink, but now Gumiho's doing a tank push from... Where are the SCVs for the bunker? Here are the Tecta boys. I know Gumiho too well. Gumi bro with another Gum Gum special here. I think Estrella tried to play Gumiho's game, and you're not gonna beat him at it. It's not over. Wow, the supply is really bad. It's really rough. It's not over, but there's a small there's no Blink. Without Blink, he can't even kite these units back. That's 3 siege tanks. Gets a medevac. Nice consolation prize. There's nowhere to run. He's back. Shield battery overcharged. 3 siege tanks just smash his Stalkers. That's the only pylon, right? Yep. The SCV's escorting those tanks in. Slaps down a missile turret. For what purpose? Just in case the well, and in case he rebuilt the Dark Shrine. Oh, it's a disaster. Ever since that medevac Cyclone drop came in. Estrella, way too far ahead of himself with that Dark Shrine. And Gumiho is just tearing him apart for it. There's a desperate... Well, now we're gonna base trade, but now it's Estrella doing the desperate base trade with Blink Stalkers. Here's the thing. Is there even a probe on the map? Not that the Stalkers are even... Stim is done. Yeah, he stims the Marines. Siege tank comes back. He may get it. GG. Alright, we're all evened up. That Dark Shrine attempt and the delayed Blink. Gumiho just got the better end of it there. A well-chosen cheese, a map-dependent one. But he played it perfectly. He never overcommitted. Like, just putting... I wanted him to put the factory in the natural. Because, I mean, of course I did. But that exact positioning was so smart. Because there's nothing Protoss can do to stop you. It actually takes so long to walk all the way around. And then you just fly in. Like, there's almost... Well, the downside is if it completely gets shut down, you have no production back at home and you die. So that is a bit of a downside. But otherwise, no downsides. Like liking and subscribing. Only up. Please clap. Please like. Alright. Game 3. Hopefully Estrella takes a breather. They're allowed... So in most tournaments, you're allowed to take... Even in person, you're allowed to take a break after 2 games. I mean, you're allowed to take a break if you need to, but... Standard... If you take too many breaks, you get penalized. It never happens in StarCraft 2, at least, but... I would take a break after that one. Be like, give me like 3 minutes. Have someone slap me across the face and say, don't cheese Gumiho. He knows what he's doing better than you. All right, you've played standard macro 99 out of 100 times. Why are you cheesing that? Yeah, but he proxied a bit. What are you doing? Now go research Blink. One Rax expand. All right. We're getting back to sanity. Snapping back towards reality. Stalker first. We're really playing the conservative game. You did get a good probe scout. You saw the One Rax expand. You don't need the adept to poke and prod about what exactly they're doing. It's not nearly as important if you know for a fact they're expanding on the low ground at that timing. There's just not going to be a factory that early. And even if he goes for factory quickly, it can't threaten you before you at least get a few units out. Especially if the probe gets in and spots 2 Marines. Did he even see the reactor? Yep. He saw the Marine and the reactor timing. So good information for Estrella. A lot to work with. So now it's time for the Dark Templar rush. No! Please don't. Probe gets hunted down by the Reaper finally. Survived a surprising amount of time at large. Alright, moment of truth. Blink and DTs cost the same amount. It's Blink. Oh, Widow Mine or 2. Wait, did he already build one? Yeah, it's gonna be a Widow Mine drop out of Gumiho. An old build, but it checks out. Still dangerous. Just slightly less likely to do game-ending damage as it was before the patch that added an actual visible line and reduced the radius slightly. Now you can only kill like half the mineral line with a single... Depends on the angle. A Cyclone is still the most common choice because it can help cover you on defense as well as offense, whereas the Widow Mine is a bit less reliable in that sense. Hallucinated Phoenix popped in. And I'm not sure if he saw there were any Widow Mines. He saw there was no tech lab on the factory, but that doesn't really narrow it down too much. Could still be Cyclones. Technically Hellions. Single Stalker in the main. Drives away the Reaper. Widow Mine drop coming around. Blink is still pretty far off. And good reaction on Estrella, but not good enough to stop the mine from burrowing. Offers up the sacrifice. Retargeting, recalculating. Yep. He's using the other... Oh my god. Just... So... While there's something else in range, you can retarget with the mine, which players would do before. It's just, without the fancy laser line, it's a lot less obvious. So Gumiho using the mine as mining denial. Which still ends up having a pretty dramatic effect, even if he only ends up killing 1 probe. A lot of mining time lost. Now the follow-up push is on the way. And coming across so quick, the Observer, I think, missed it. There's a chance that Estrella gets completely blindsided by this. The Observer's going to get in and see no units. But the Widow Mine drop is still anchoring. Yep, surprise! And not one of those fun surprises. Well, Siege Tank. Smacking the point home. Only 1 Siege Tank. Widow Mine drop in the natural. Estrella. Oh, retargeting, recalculating. Ends up killing 6 probes. And 6 probes is more than enough to justify that investment. The medevac, though, has the tank in it. Bit of a risky business there. Another medevac. That one gets gunned down. Force field, optimistic, chases down more stalkers, but The losses are already dramatic. Estrella down 7 workers. He lost his Immortal. A lot of damage on the Stalkers. And how much did he get in return? He killed the 1 Widowmine drop medevac. He's going to shave away a few Marines. But he has to be careful about going any further forward. That siege tank. Oh, almost got a second shot. Estrella gonna try to make up some ground with the Colossus. He has charge on the way. He's working on +1. Gumiho does not actually have any upgrades on the way. He's just now finishing his double engineering bay. So that is one angle that Estrella does have an advantage. He's going to have upgrades quicker. So, and also Gumiho just stepping the Colossus into the main. I don't think he quite has the range to force field the ramp from here. But, wow. A stepping stone play here. And without a siege tank, that Colossus is a real threat. Blinks the Stalkers away, incinerating more of the Marines. It's a very awkward place to fight because the Marines don't really have that much. He blinks back in. He's in pretty deep. I don't know about that. Well, okay, so the Colossus has 13 kills, but he's starting to take hull damage now. I like the first blink. The second one, he ends up losing 8 Stalkers, which, so 10, about 1,000 minerals and 500 gas to just 1,250 minerals. Yeah, that second blink was definitely a bit ambitious. But Estrella knows he's in a bit of a tough position as well. He needs to take some risks in order to get really back into it. Yes, the supplies might be even, but with an equal number of workers and bases, Terrans have more income. Mules are very good, worth about 5 SCVs apiece, and that's why, despite having a couple less workers, Gumiho currently has the income lead, and that will translate into more and more production, and that is why Estrella is really trying to find an angle here, but Gumiho's acutely aware of it, and Estrella, not obtuse, instead, well, does lose one of his Colossi to the Vikings, and I think that has to be the end of it. It should have been the end of it before. But now Gumiho, he's got 5 racks online. Estrella just now slapping down his production. I fear Estrella has waited too long to really build up his infrastructure. And that means Gumiho will have quite a dramatic time. What's happening in the main? I think hallucinated Phoenix. Gumiho will have quite a timing. He doesn't need to wait for anything. He can just move out now. He has 5 siege tanks, 10 Marauders, 5 medevacs, and he's building Vikings. Estrella has 10 gateways in production, which, that seems like a bit much. The force fields, emotional support fields, making you feel like the Terrans are not that scary, but they're still scary. Scans again for the observer, spots the army. The tanks will continue to siege. He's trying to buy time for his ludicrous amount of gateways. Where did you get all the money for those gateways? All right? What's going on there, Estrella? Where did all the minerals go? Hashtag gate. Well, the charge lots are coming in from the south side. It's not going to get much easier. He's trying to wait for the tanks to unsiege. Both players dancing back and forth. There are observers on each side of this. If there was ever a time to go, he just backs off. He's waiting for his gates to come online. The Deca gates. How many gateways does he have now? 13. Auspicious. I think a Templar Archives completed. Indeed it did. No storm. Just straight for Archons. And Gumiho does not have a Ghost Academy. So, those Archons are a serious danger to this army, especially when caught out on the field on its own. Can potentially target down Gitz. 1 medevac. He got a bit greedy and went for the second as well, but the tanks on the high ground. Gumiho with 8 siege tanks and counting. He loves his siege tanks, and we love him for it. Keeping Estrella at bay. But Estrella's leveraging this army well. I think he's made up most of the map control deficit. Gumiho is maxed out, but this is a hard army to... If Estrella keeps active like he's been doing, it's going to be hard for Gumiho to get in position. Force field, but the siege tanks don't care too much. The Zealots! No! He warps in another cinematic of Zealots, but how many? He just lost 13 of them, a full warp-in wave. And most importantly, he lost time. He's gonna be caught between a rock and a hard place as Gumiho sieges up nearly 10 tanks. The Zealots from the back, he's gotta go now. He gets a couple of the tanks right off the bat, grinding through the front line, hallucinating Archons, the Colossi on the back, incinerating the front. And there's only one siege tank. Oh, 2 siege tanks left. I didn't even notice it under those. Wow, that's such a crazy angle, too. Parabolic arc. Estrella acquitting himself quite well. That pylon would be very helpful to take out. I don't know if he intentionally hallucinated that Archon, but I think it's helping out a lot. There's still so much bio here. 2-1 upgrades for both sides. 2 siege tanks on the back line. Another Archon and some charge lots from the south. A huge wave of them. Trying to target down. Doesn't quite get the Archon, and it's helping out a lot. Siege tank finally takes it down. But Estrella manages to collapse, close in, and crush the army. And while there were a few dozen missteps from those Zealots, eventually they found their target and charged forward. And there it is. He reaches for the fleet beacon into the skies. And a fusion core, as well as Gumiho, techs up both sides, realizing how dangerous that the opposing army could be. And Tier 3 tech is the only way to compete with it. +1 air weapons now completed for Estrella. I think Tempest. This feels like a Tempest timing, as carriers are a unit that... Does he think he can outright win with them? Because carriers are a death ball unit. You need like 6 of them. That's the number. 6 carriers in order to have such a swarm of interceptors they can't really reliably break through. You have less than that, and it's mostly target practice for Vikings, as well as easy enough to be picked off by Marines, Ghosts, what have you. Speaking of Ghosts, okay, there is an academy. Four Liberators on the way, carriers as well. Mothership in production. Mothership against Terran. But it worked out in game 1. Of course, it was a bit more of an Estrella risk there, as opposed to a main point. Still so many charge lots sauntering around. With some Templar in tow. Scans across the board. Looking for the army. The sensor towers out in front. Very forward sensor towers. Kind of covering almost all the way up to the watchtower. Both sides maxed out. Oh, the charge lots are very angry at that missile turret. The Templar trying to draw this army in. Maybe some storms. Mothership is nearly done. Storm on the ramp. Softens things up. The charge lot count is damn high. Gets the Templar merge. Slices through some of the Marauders. Is there anything else happening? What do we got up here? That's just an orbital command. That means the SCVs are vulnerable. Archon. No! No! I'll get him. I'm gonna get him. I lost track of his target. 5 SCVs dead. So Gumiho's army supply is significantly larger than Estrella at this stage. 82 to 68. And they're both nearly maxed out. Mothership with the army to the south. Carriers to the north. This is quite a split of incredibly expensive units. But the storms... Oh my, a monsoon of damage. And the Liberators, a bit out of position to zone out the Templar. Liberators pretty good against interceptors, but against the carriers themselves, they're gonna struggle. Only +1 ship weapons, +2 air weapons, and +1 armor about to be done for the carriers, which is very important at dealing with these units. The Mothership, oh my god! The tactical recall with the Mothership! He just outflanked him from the back! Though, are there any Templar? He got EMP'd right underneath. The Colossi standing tall. The Immortals trying to help. What a play out of Estrella! But unfortunately, it crumbles in the face of the EMPs, and the Liberators already set up. One of the coolest plays. But unfortunately, just because it's cool doesn't mean it finds success. The carriers are running low on interceptors. He didn't have that critical mass. This fight getting smaller and smaller as the unit counts dwindle. The carriers will eventually win it. A Pyrrhic victory indeed. And we have to ask ourselves, at what cost? Astraea, it was about even overall. Astraea ends up losing about 1,000 more, minerals. But what does that leave us with? Now we got half a dozen carriers and 1 Templar. But oh my, that was one of the coolest plays. Then Gumiho drops 8 mules. Just in case you were wondering who was in the income lead, it's clearly the American financial... No, it's the Terran money printer. The mules drop. Chrono boost across the board. Mass carrier. Up against Vikings and Bile. But I like Astraea's army better. Gumiho's still building a lot of Marauders. I don't think he's respecting the commitment or the upgrades that Astraea has put into this Skytoss army. This is not your stock, like, fresh off the Stargate. No, he's souped up these carriers. He's got the Templar underneath. He's taking good care of them. And, if you take good care of them, they'll carry you. Now, 8 carriers have arrived. Plus 3 air weapons. Plus 2 armor. Competing against what's about to be plus 2 ship weapons. This is a deadly Protoss army. Gumiho has a lot of minerals in the bank, but based on the lack of missile turrets around the map, I don't think he realizes how committed Astraea is to this carrier army. Oh, this is certainly, like, this is way too much. The mothership he can recall. Wait, there's no EMPs. A time warp, and he's tactical dunking. Oh my, what a play. And he can use the recall back to save his base. And as long, no, he got EMP'd. The Nexus can be EMP'd. And, oh wait, Mom, is it time? Yes, honey, it's base train time. Oh no, here we go again. The question will be, oh, he's trying to drag the Widow Mine into the army, but the interceptors are dying too fast. And the Widow Mine wasn't going off. There's just so many carriers. The Death Ball here. He doesn't have the anti-air. He's just clicking on bases. Plus 3 carriers. The ultimate swarm. Astraea, if you're gonna retreat, if you're gonna oh, he has Templar in the main. He's set up for it so well yet again. Astraea is storming him inside his own house. He's storming the front. FBI, open up. And now, the carriers are grinding through the production. Gumiho's supply plummets. The carriers continue to ransack the main. And Astraea now has enough back at home to fight the army heads up. And Gumiho might have money in the bank, but he can't spend it. Astraea goes up to a 2-1 lead with a beautiful mothership flank. This is some of the best mothership usage I have ever seen. Bar none, like, especially against Terran, who has EMP. Against Zerg, occasionally you'll see the mothership used for, like, your late game kind of suicide time warps, occasional recall into the main. But Astraea using it to flank with Templar. The Battle Mage. That's all I have to say about that. Well, it's not, but... Game 4. I love how ready Astraea is for these base trades. Like the late game ones, not the weird early game cheese option. Templar with energy, multiple waves of Warpins. Like, he was not going head first into it. He was easing in one step at a time. And Gumiho just threw himself at the base and hoped for the best. I gotta point out, not a single disruptor built by Estrella this series so far. Relying entirely on Archons, Colossi, and Templar for the splash damage. I mean, that's pretty much everything else for splash damage, but still. Alright, Gumiho 1 rank 6 ban. Did Estrella not probe scout? Neither player has scouted anything but proxies around their base. So, and Gumiho did it with a Marine. So neither player, but we're gonna play a nice standard macro game here on our nice standard macro map, Oceanborn. That's what we're doing. I want to see more tactical recalls. Make sure to like and subscribe if you get nostalgia triggered when I say Kiwikaki versus Stefano. And yes, why can't we have the mothership of old, which would stun huge groups of units and then bring them out into a huge amount of splash damage that was uncounterable? Like, it'd be crazy if there was a unit that could just wipe out like much of your army in a single spell cast. Leave you with no shields or energy, right? Terrifying. What is it gonna be? He's got a medevac. Is he just gonna jam a half dozen Marines in there and send it across? It's been surprisingly effective. Sorry, I lied. 7 Marines. Off we go. And then Siege Tank Viking. Is he doing a push behind this? Wait, where's the medevac going? Why are you boosting home? Make way! Make way! He called him up. The Siege Tank's like, hey, bro! Gooby, bro! You said I would have a ride! Is he doing... Wow, he's just doing a tank push. The Tacta boys are on the way. He may very well do a bunker rush. A very old school style. Takes out the Observer. I don't know if the Observer saw any of this. The medevac is in a precarious position indeed. The Siege Tank, is there enough energy for shield battery overcharge? Yes, barely. Blank is 12 seconds out. That's a very long 12 seconds. Oh, he really needs it. Shield battery overcharge is also kind of a requirement. He already does it. Blank and Estrella fighting the tank. Dodges back, Siege is up. Battery overcharge still halfway there. Estrella needs to be using every bit of this. Blanc's forward, takes out the tank, but the Viking adding a lot of damage here. I don't know about the Blanc forward. Oh, Estrella's got him. Gumiho's got him on the ropes, but dodging the Immortal. Another Viking. Viking dropping out. Another Siege Tank on the way. Gumiho just hitting him hard and fast here. The Immortal going to work, but the Vikings on the ground are actually doing terrible, terrible damage with a bonus against mechanical units. And inconveniently for Estrella, the landed Vikings. Ready to pillage. Oh no, that's an important pylon.
Who does that?
Estrella now lost his Robo and one of his gate Gumiho just Viking dunked on his face. I don't blame him for trying to hit him as hard as possible early. It's how we found success in Game 2 and now 4. Very tough for Estrella, though. As, now it's just down to 1. Gumiho in 2 games that combined were less than either game Estrella won in time. Which sounds like one of those riddles that you have to answer in order to unlock a chance at a free mobile game. What am I saying? Hey, shout out to our new sponsors. Raid. Sorry. If you'd like this to be continued to be sponsored by you, the people, make sure to like and subscribe. And check out Patreon. Fuck Raid Gentlemen. Jimmy, edit that out in case we ever want to get paid. Like real money. Not you. No. Game 5. The decider after Gumiho pulling 2 sneaky cheeses out of his particularly creative hat. I was trying to be more creative than just saying creative, but I'm no Gumiho. I'm just a Gumi bro. Oh, Gumi, no. Gumi so. Game 5. Double gas this time around. What does Estrella bring? Gumiho's very likely going to try another early aggressive build. Estrella has had command of the late game. Gumiho has been able to undercut him early. But that doesn't mean it'll remain true. That's always been Estrella's weakness, though. Is before he gets all of his incantations together, the Battle Mage struggles. Literally getting hit before Blink, before Robo Bay, before you have this tech online. Once he has all of his options, his tools, then it gets a lot better. It's noticeably better, obviously. I guess that goes for most Protoss, but Estrella more than most. And Gumiho is usually more of a mid to late game player, but clearly knows his opponent's weakness. And he's going to continue pressuring it. A single Zealot. He actually built the Zealot outright. It's going to be a double Reaper. Now, is it a Cyclone or straight to Starport Hellion build? Zealot at the Watchtower. He's just continuing through. If the Reapers find that Zealot, that could be a bit of a disaster. Oh no, the timing is not great. And the SCV is in that part where it's bugged out in the center of the command center. Which is, and this is true, you can quote me on this, total bullshit. If that SCV was on the outside of the CC, then it very likely either dies to the Zealot or is severely delayed. He even got another slap, and he does kill it. Recalls the Adept, but... a lucky break for Gumiho to even get that far with it. Killing off the Zealot easily, and getting a lot of damage on the Adept. Sees the Hellions coming across. He actually just... He's not quite in the sweet spot here, unfortunately. He gets it. That's something. But again, an awkward start for Estrella. Thankfully, he's got a shield better on the way. Blink has begun. Robo started. But Gumiho's just sending it right now. He's got Reaper Hellion like it's a Terran versus Terran. And I mean, who's going to stop him? One Adept against 4... Where are you going? Come back! Oh, no! The mineral lines. There's only 2 gateway units here to deal with it. The Reapers at the natural. The shield battery will help out, but... And he's just hitting him before even Warp Gate finishes. Shield battery overcharge used to save him from the Reapers. And, I mean, that could have gone worse. It certainly could have gone worse. And Gumiho, just now finishing his command center. Starting the orbital. And Estrella maintains a 7-worker lead. So... It certainly could have been much worse. But a rough start again. And here come the Reapers into the main, trying to distract. Is he gonna... He's just gonna fight? Wait, are Stalkers that bad? Okay. I'm like, do 3 Stalkers not beat 5 Reapers? Apparently, it's a bit more of a competition than you'd expect. It comes down to the grenades, how badly it goes for the Reapers. Mixed feelings on this one for the 3rd time this series. Well, it might have been more than 3 times, but for the 3rd time in the early game, a Dark Shrine. A bit later on than we saw in either of the other games, but a Dark Shrine nonetheless, before a 3rd base. Unfortunately, a Liberator just strolls in, sieges up. It's gonna get 2 probes before anything else can be done about it. In fact, overestimating Estrella in retreating there immediately, instead of staying sieged up and waiting for the Stalker. Siege tank distracted. The Stalker is just rampaging. The tank is not sieged here. Estrella finds a perfect timing. Actually gets in and gets out. A great blink timing. The Reaper's trying to come in. Estrella is battening down the hatches. The Blink Stalkers are moving into position to defend. I think he may have seen the Dark Shrine. He did. Engineering Bay is on the way. There is no Raven, though. Will he slap down a tech lab, or is he going to rely entirely? Yeah, Gumiho. Where is the It's back there. All right. I couldn't even see it on the mini-map, to be honest. 3 DTs warped in. He's not using this as entirely an all-in style. Oh, wow. Single missile turret. Estrella may be able to get some real damage done here. Pre-splits the DTs. Does a good job. He kills 3 SCVs. Turret finally finishes. No, that's dead. All right. 4 SCVs dead. Estrella doing a great job of keeping Gumiho at bay and limiting his economy. It's very important to limit his economy, but not at the expense of your army right now. Because the biggest weakness Estrella has is in a straight-up fight. So he's like, I'm going to go blink DTs, and that'll fix it. Sure. That is an insane choice. But it's game 5, and he's certainly not going to expect it. Oh, no, the Prism, but the Stalker's body block. And then could you move? Oh, my God. Ah, the Stalkers took so many hits so the Prism could get away, and then the Prism just gave up. Which is heartbreaking, because that Prism would keep even more units anchored back at home. Gumiho tries to shove his way across the map, but the DTs will pester him throughout. There's a few SCVs with this. I don't know if he intentionally... He spotted the DT without even needing to get sliced up by it. DT Blink is still on the way. How many scans does he have? Oh my God, not enough. Not enough. There's the scan. DTs, but the Zealots, he doesn't have charge. Does he need it? The Zealots are already here, closing the distance. No +1 means those Zealots are just tanking so many hits. Blinks forward. Those are still Terran units. DT Blink is about to complete. He only has 1 Dark Templar, though. Shield battery overcharge. Gumiho finishes his +1. Huge damage upgrade for those Marines. Gotta be so careful. Oh, yeah, the Liberator. The Liberator was taken down. He may have selected army to... Blogs forward, but he picks up and drags it back. Over the vision. The charge lots are stuck behind the Stalkers. Still no combat shield, even on the way right now. DTs. What? A Scouting Immortal. He recalls it. Gonna get chased down. DT's still slicing. Then the tank's chasing down. Not able to blink away in time. He retreats to the watchtower. What a game 5. Gumiho does not have a combat shield. That is a massive deal. He's gonna keep getting one shot by the Dark Templar. The tank! There's nothing that can shoot it! He takes out the tank with the Dark Templar. Chasing down with the charge lots. Blinks over to the side. Taking down the medevacs. He's at point blank range on the tanks. The Immortals are bashing through. And Estrella's chasing down. Oh no! Gumiho is forced to retreat everything. And Estrella, while the DT Blink had nothing to do with this, the Stalker Blink definitely did. And now Estrella is in a commanding position. It isn't a shoo-in. It isn't a whatever the charge lot's wearing. But he is in the lead, unequivocally. Gumiho still has the upgrade advantage. Estrella didn't even have a forge. Gumiho just shot his own Marine, and, well, that Marine was like, why don't you build combat shield, you stupid nerd? Gumiho's like, shut up. And also, you're right. If he had combat shield, maybe he would have survived that Marauder accidentally shooting him in the face. Just saying. But the lack of combat shield is certainly going to hamstring Gumiho for the next minute or two, as it did in that fight. If he had it in that fight, the very close battles back and forth probably wouldn't have been nearly as close. Because that extra 10 HP with +1 armor allows you to survive a Dark Templar hit. And you have a lot more time to potentially heal from the stims as well. Like, it's the biggest effective health upgrade in the game, more than armor upgrades themselves, even when you combine them for the most part. So, it's such a huge deal and such a big mistake and an obviously understandable situation in which to make it, but also the time when you least want to. Game 5 here. Stop position, and the Zealots are freaking out! There's no anti-air here. Will we drop out the Zealots to try to save it? Nope, another Prism goes down. That's rough. Losing that Prism really does hurt at this stage of the game. Estrella needs to keep enough army supply to bully Gumiho off the map. And the best way to do that is to force Gumiho to keep enough army supply back at home he can't compete on the map. But as soon as you kill that Prism, he has enough army to now fight outright. In fact, Gumiho has more army supply, and he has better upgrades. Estrella has the arguably better unit composition. Look at that vision he's putting together out on the map. Map is dark. Full of Terrans. Estrella with effectively perfect vision of everything that Gumiho could be doing. But he still has to find a fight that favors him. And that's the hard part. Is one, well, the focal point's going to be denying a 4th base. Making sure that while Estrella has a 4th, and probably a 5th momentarily, Gumiho's never able to expand again. He's going to be able to max out maybe once. And then Estrella will look to grind him down in a war of attrition. Assuming he can't win a fight outright, which I doubt. But we will see. Another Warp Prism is heading across. Please don't die to a bunch of Marines that are just right there. That's why we have Spylons. Warp Prism is so important. But there's 2 Vikings. I think he may have spotted the Prism. Gumiho. He sees it. Oh no! He's getting hunted. And Estrella goes for a Disruptor. Wait, was there a probe in there? Or was that probe just hanging out? Somehow the probe distracted it. Distracted these units. And the Prism lived. And now Estrella bringing out Double Ruptor. There's a lot of Widow Mines out there. The Disruptor's a reliable method of dealing with the mines at the very least. Gonna take out the rocks. How many gates? We're looking at 8 gates, which is actually a bit low. Disruptor shot. Clips a Marauder. Gumiho. Whoop. Dodging out. Estrella dodging out of the Widowmine shots while grinding forward with the main army. +2 weapons just now finished. It's going to be 2-1 versus 2-1 yet again. These two so evenly matched on the upgrades. And Estrella finishes the upgrades, ready to move in. Disruptors are ready to go. Fires off a shot. Looks for the center mass. Clips a ghost or two. Beaten back. EMP is good. Disruptor shot. Follow through isn't perfect. The damage on the ground isn't really there. The Vikings might be able to knock out the Warp Prism. Some of the charge lots managed to finish warping in. Gumiho beaten back, and there were some charge lots in the natural. He killed 17 SCVs. Estrella, a difficult fight, but tie goes to the leader. And right now, Estrella has 5 bases, and Gumiho is struggling to keep 50 SCVs and mine from 3 bases. So overall, Estrella is still in a good position. He did. That was a costly fight. He did end up losing 1,000 more gas and 1,700 more minerals. As the angling on the disruptors was not great, and the Vikings had pretty much free range. But Estrella doesn't need great fights. He only needs pretty okay ones because he has so much more money to be able to throw at Gumiho. Be careful with that thing! Now I think we're seeing the reason why Estrella not a big fan of the Ruptors usually. As they are dangerous creatures to everyone involved. A double-edged sword. A grenade. Double-edged grenade. So just a grenade. And then Vikings hit the deck. The hit squad. What are you looking for out there? I don't know. The Ruptor count growing. Gumiho. I don't know what he's hunting for. A whole bunch of Charizard spots the army. The main ball of Ruptors moving in, but he blinks! What a play! Oh, and Disruptors! He just flings them past. He goes for the flank. Disruptor shot. There's nowhere to run. But he actually hit some of his own units there, so that's not entirely ideal. But Gumiho just taps it out. Estrella locks him in one more time. Estrella was some of the most strong arm Protoss. Not known for their strong arms, except for throwing. And I thought he might be doing it here. But I can't believe we actually just saw force field, useless. Blink force field? Blinks in. I really thought we'd see a disruptor hit right there. But he actually throws the disruptor shot past because he knew it was going to hit a bunch of zealots. But while Gumiho may survive this fight, you might be like, why does he tap out here? Estrella can do it again, and again, and again. There's nothing stopping him from rebuilding. He's now got 14 gates. He's got 5 bases, 73. This fight, Gumiho's going to be left with that army, and he can't rebuild it easily. He's out of minerals in the main, out of minerals in the natural. I'd agree. You probably just want to fight that out a little bit longer. Just, you know, for the fans, but Estrella with a masterclass. Every game that he survived to Blink Stalkers without taking critical damage beforehand, he managed to win. So 3-2 for Estrella in one of the most exciting back and forth. I expected some great games from these two, and I truly enjoyed them. Which brings me to something a bit different. I wanna just talk for a moment. I mean, you made it this far, so like and subscribe and Patreon and all that. So this is one of the final matches I'll be casting from the Esports World Cup. The $1 Million Tournament happened a couple weeks ago when you're seeing this, but I mean, there's some more matches I'm gonna show, but we've covered most of the highlights. Honestly, we've covered so many matches, a significant percentage of the whole tournament. But as of this last week, there are no more ESL Weekly Cups, at least scheduled for the future. So we're in that purgatory again with StarCraft 2, where, as of this moment, there are no major tournaments scheduled, and only a handful of minor tournaments that are not necessarily guaranteed to bring in players like Clem and Dark, for example. And also, there's probably, especially for the Korean players, going to be a significant amount of well, Dark already said he has his obligatory military service, and with no tournament scheduled, it's very unlikely any players will be coming back and saying, I want to play StarCraft 2. So where's this leading us? Maybe I'll do a whole video kind of explaining, because I don't know the situation right now. I don't have any insider info. I expect there will be some tournaments from ESL, some major tournaments, whether it's the Esports World Cup circuit. There's certainly going to be more. And if over the next couple weeks we don't end up getting something that kind of replaces the ESL Weekly Cups, which I'll let you know is about 50% of the videos you've watched on this channel this year from the ESL Weekly Cups, so without them, and without Dark, well, I plan, and I know other creators in StarCraft 2, either some weekly tournaments or something. We're not sure yet. We're kind of waiting to see what ESL does. It's a weird time. We've been in this situation before with StarCraft 2 where it's like, will there be anything? I know you guys are dedicated. The people watching this at the end, there's still so many people watching at this stage. It's ridiculous. And in fact, it's been my best year on YouTube ever, which is crazy, 14 years in. So obviously there's still some interest. So while for a time I may cut down on uploading at least pro games on a regular basis, like probably until we know for sure, like half as much, like 3-4 days a week as opposed to sometimes 7. I'll try to maintain the quality, but the quantity is simply not going to be there. I know I'm rambling at this point, but I want to thank you for watching. If you have ideas for what you'd want to see, I'm open to hearing them, but at this point, it's just going to be kind of all over the place, I think, for the next few weeks as things are figured out. Hopefully we get some news, and if we don't, we'll make some news. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope to see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Hope I made your day a little bit better. Stay chill.